You're listening to the Cryptic Crew podcast. I'm your host, Mark Childers. Before we get started, if you've had an encounter or an experience or just something unexplained, click on the link tree in the description and share your encounter. Thank you for listening to the Cryptic Crew podcast. On this episode of the Cryptic Crew podcast, I have the privilege of introducing musician, author, and creator of Moonlight Monster Media, Dustin Grammar. Dustin, thank you for coming on the show.
Oh, thank you for having me on the show.
Yes, awesome to have you. I've been looking forward to this. I think we met on social media, didn't we?
Yeah, it was a month ago, and you posted the picture of the Bigfoot statue in Evergreen, Alabama, and I was like, why does that look familiar? And you were saying, hey, guess where this is?
That's exactly what it was, yes.
Found out you were also here, not too far away.
Right. Yes, that's exactly what it was. I don't know if it was a poll or a contest or something on Instagram, but that's what it was. It was the famous Bigfoot statue in Evergreen.
Yeah, I'd actually watched it on a documentary not too long ago. It just, when I saw the picture, it stuck out. I was like, I've seen this before.
Yeah, I had an episode when I first started with a gentleman that lives close to that area, and there's a lot of activity down that way, in Conecuh National Forest and some other parts.
Yeah, it seems to be the case around these national parks and forests and stuff, state parks.
Yes, for sure. Dustin, I tell you what, let's tell the listeners, if you can, tell them a little bit about yourself and what got you started writing books and the paranormal or unexplained.
Okay, I'm gonna try not to ramble and take it too much time because there's a lot of ways I can go with this, but I'm gonna just simplify it and say childhood. Growing up in the South, growing up in Alabama, and hearing there's a lot of good storytellers in my family and just in the community overall. So that sparked an interest in, the paranormal, Bigfoot, ghosts, things like that. And the author stuff just came about ever since I was about 10 or 11, in like the it was the sixth grade. We read a book and the teacher had us write a little short story to act out with a group, and she let me write sequels because everybody enjoyed the first one so much. So we do these like sword and sorcery type. It was like that kind of story. And I did 2 or 3 sequels, and she would take time out. Her name was Miss Jones, and she'd take time out to let me type and write out a story. And I never completed anything. It took me like 30 years almost to finally finish a book, but it's just something I've always dabbled in or, wanted to accomplish, and just finally did it one day. Well, I was going to make a YouTube channel of, like short stories and read them and, write them and then have guests on. And by the time my mind was working so slow, I couldn't freestyle. So by the time I typed up all the notes, I just figured I'd write a book out of it instead if I was going to put that much work in.
Right. You have written a few books that I know of: The Structure, Dirt Roads, Tale of Horror, and your newest release, The Other Side of the Graveyard. Could you tell us a little bit about that one?
Yeah, that's right. This is the newest one, The Other Side of the Graveyard, and I used all of my work in the little mockumentary I did, Steve's Ridge. It's all published and distributed with Zombie Media, which is Thomas Markham's company there in Kentucky. And there, I could go on about how we met, and it started with music, but Ruth Anna Evans actually did the artwork for this one. So with Dirt Road Tells of Horror and The Other Side of the Graveyard, essentially they're just short stories based in the Southeast. Well, one of the ones in this book's not in the Southeast, but I kind of try to stick to what I know, so I write a lot of stuff to. If you lived in the Southeast, you could probably relate more to the characters and the stories. And then the structure ended up being a standalone novella about a dude in Alabama that buys a drone and stumbles across a building in the woods that's not supposed to, and never had been there his whole life. And it was supposed to be a part of the latest book, but it got too long, so I made it its own story. So I'd kind of been working on this one off and on throughout the year, but it's horror stories. Most of them are in the southeastern states, and it covers, I mean, Sasquatch, Rougarous, spirit, killers, vampires. I try to keep a little blend in there of topics.
Let me ask you this, Dustin. Did any of that growing up as a child stick out to you more, or you had a favorite cryptid, I guess, Bigfoot or what have you?
Yeah, growing up, I would probably say Bigfoot, and werewolves. Bigfoot, because in our elementary school library, they had some books about cryptid. I can't find it to save my life now. I've looked, but there was a chapter about Bigfoot in there, and I'd sit on the porch about this time of the year, in the fall near Halloween, and read it, and it would just like freak me out thinking about this big hairy creature that could reach around the wall or something, come around the edge of the house and try to get me or something, and then my best friend's mom growing up would tell us Bigfoot stories and to this day she still says that they're in the woods near her house, and she's got recordings and all that stuff of some screams and hollers. So
Oh,
that,
wow.
that it kind of stuck with me. Yeah.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, I was going to ask you if you gravitated to any certain book or books while you were in school. Eh, But
Yeah, it
the,
was some sort of monster book, and it had the Loch Ness monster, and yeah, it had some other things in it, but that I like getting books like that when I was a kid. Like getting the old we had a set that had Universal monsters too, like the Wolfman and Dracula and stuff, and I'd get those, read those, look at the pictures.
right. Yes. Do you have any personal stories of anything strange or unexplained?
Yeah, I have a handful, nothing cryptid related, and I would say they were more on the paranormal side. Yeah, and I have three really good ones that I kind of keep up with and tell the most. Uh, and also because I had a secondary, in a way, I had like a secondary witness to it. So, I'm more of a skeptic, honestly. But in these three different stories I got that actually happened to me, there's some things that happen that just make it unexplainable. Um,
Yeah, could you go into detail about those?
yeah, for time's sake, I'll let you pick, I guess, not to put you on the spot. Would you rather hear the one about the industrial setting, the house, or the church?
Let's go industrial setting. Usually don't hear that
Okay.
too often.
All right. So it's a plant. I won't go into too many details about what kind. And then the night shift, there's only two people in the facility that keep things operating. And, you can't have someone work alone. It's for safety reasons also. But earlier in my career, and I still work there to this day, uh, or that's where I'm at currently. I run a night shift operation for a couple. I was there 2.5 years straight nights, and it was kind of fun, but it's creepy out there. There's some old buildings that are, there's been some expansions, but there's stuff still there from the 50s. There's some tunnels that go underground because they had some connecting points that were under the ground. So anyway, there's an old building there, and it's building number 13. So already you have a big placard on it that's number 13. It's kind of off to the side a little bit to itself. It's dark over on that side of the plant, but there's the road kind of circles. So I used to get out and walk the plant instead of driving a side by side or something. I'd get out in the middle of the night, get a little exercise and walk. Well, anyway, passing this building on some nights, when you go past it, you smell cigar smoke just randomly, and it was pretty clear, and it was multiple times it happened. And I had a bright flashlight. We had really good light, so right off the bat, I'm looking for somebody that's not supposed to be there in the vicinity. So I'm shining. I'm walking around corners. I'm just, I give the place a good look over. I never saw anybody, but I smell cigar smoke. So anyway, I didn't tell anybody this either because I didn't want to think, man, this dude's kind of crazy, man. I don't want to talk to him. So there was a woman who come in and run a part of the facility at 4:00 in the morning. So she'd make coffee, and I like to drink coffee. So I'd go up there and get a cup of coffee, and we talk. Well, one morning we're sitting there because she'd been there 28 years or something like that, a while. And so sometimes she tells stories about when this person was here, they did this, or this used to happen, or this is how the plant used to run. And one morning she said, there was this old guy who used to smoke cigars around here. He would do it every day on his break, and she said he would sit on the steps of building 13. And so, I just kind of stopped for a minute because I'm like, do I say anything, or do I just keep this to myself? And we were friendly enough that I felt comfortable telling her. And I said, well, listen, I said, I kind of can't believe you just said that. I said, can I tell you something about working out here at night? Sometimes when I pass by there, I smell cigar smoke. So, I mean, that's that part of it. And then, it just freaks people out. Everybody always told me that was a ghost building. It just makes people feel uneasy going past it.
Sure. Were there other people that worked there that knew about the ghost or knew about the story?
Everybody always just called it the ghost building. And she was a more senior member, of the staff at the time. A lot of them had gone on, retired, and we had newer people. But the funny thing, yeah, I would tell the story, once I got the pieces put together. And some of the younger guys, which this is a funny part of the story, and the guy who told me, the other guy didn't want him to tell me. He said, hey, tell him about when we went to Building 13 that night. Because I would tell the story and just think nobody listened. They didn't care. It's just something fun. Even if I give tours of the facility, if the group's kind of fun, I'll be like, hey, y'all want to hear a ghost story? And I'll tell them. So they'd heard the story. So these two guys that were newer decided they were going to go in the building one night, and they had a side-by-side outside running. They left it running. I guess in case they got scared. I don't know why. And they go in there and they slam the door and they holler out, trying to be funny, I guess. Hey, ghost, we're in here. And they're trying to be cool. And all of a sudden, they hear this loud, just slapping and popping and, commotion. And it just freaks them out. Well, a bird had flown in and gotten the raptors and was hitting, I guess, some metal. And so right then they got a little startled. Well, in the meantime, a train came by on the tracks. And from what they were telling me, inside with the door shut, and I guess they're already worked up, their adrenaline's up from getting scared by that bird. Well, they said the way the train was crossing the tracks, it sounded like the side-by-side was revving up outside, and they hollered, it's still in the Polaris, and they just ran off, and left. So, I mean, that's a little funnier. I think it's funny. They probably hate that I tell that now, but.
Well, it sounds like to me they didn't have intentions of staying in that building too long if they left the side-by-side running.
Yeah, that's what they were trying to be cool, but I think they were nervous to start with. I mean, it's kind of a creepy building. There's no lights on in it.
So when was the building? Do you know when it was built?
That one, maybe in the 70s.
Okay.
I don't
And how
know
long?
that it was part of, yeah, it wasn't part of the original plan. So probably 76, I think.
Okay. How long was it since that guy that used to work there and smoked the cigars, how long was it? Had it been since he had worked there?
I don't know. Probably the 90s, maybe.
So it's
I'm not
quite.
sure. I got there for the first time in 2013, and there was no one like that there then. So I think it was in the 90s, probably.
Okay. So it'd been several years, probably 20 years then,
Yeah,
more than
yeah,
likely.
maybe.
That's really interesting.
Early 2000s. I'm trying to remember when she got there. Maybe she started there in the mid 90s, I think. So probably around then.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of people are afraid, you know, and like you had just mentioned previously, to mention or tell a story or tell their story because of ridicule.
Yeah. And I was like that then, but now I'm just, I'm older and I write crazy books and make videos and stuff. So I'm kind of over it now. It's what it is. They can think what they want about it.
Right. Well, tell us on your latest release, the other side of the graveyard. Um, how did that? How did the main topic come about, or how did that story develop?
So the actual title itself has some meaning because there's 12 stories inside of it, and they're like when I write stories, I mean, a lot of it comes from my imagination. I'll think of a creature or something I want to tell a story about, and sometimes I base it off of people I know or people I've observed. If I see us, because you want to be relatable to how humans are, so I try to model it after certain characteristics of people that I've observed. But the title itself, The Other Side of the Graveyard, comes from when I was a kid. And the church we went to had this long graveyard attached to it. And the movie The Monster Squad?
I do.
Uh, Me and my buddies, or, my best friend, my brother, we all watched that and we just loved it. So we decided we were going to make our own little monster club. So the three of us were in it to begin with, and we print out sheets on monsters and we kept it in a file folder. We're trying to be like real legit with it. Well, we had other friends, most at church that wanted to join the club. So we give them a written test, a few questions about monsters, kind of like the boys did in the movie. But the ultimate, I guess, initiation to join was you had to walk to the other side of the graveyard, touch the fence, and come back by yourself. And I just kind of use that for the title because it
Right.
meant something.
That was their test to get
Yeah.
initiated into the club. Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't care if they ran, but we'd stand at the gate and watch and make sure they got all the way to the other side and back.
Yeah, that's a pretty neat story. That's something you won't forget either.
Oh no.
You had mentioned I was going to ask you this about family stories, but you had mentioned to me before we had talked on the phone about the recordings. Now that's your grandmother, is that correct? That had them?
No, that is my best friend's mom who lives like maybe 2 miles away from me. She's got
Okay.
all that stuff.
She has all that stuff, and I'm
Yeah.
assuming you mentioned by recordings, if I remember correctly when you talked, that was possible Bigfoot vocalizations or.
Right. Yeah, she was saying that, they came in her yard all the time and stuff. So what she was doing, I think every night, was taking a digital recorder and just setting it in the window, opening her window, and letting it sit there and just record. And she'd go back and listen through the tape, or not a tape, but the digital recording with headphones to see if she heard anything. And she that's how she picked them up.
Have you heard any of those, any of the sounds yourself?
No, personally I haven't, but I've heard her recording, and I've been to her house a bunch of times. It's actually one of my ghost stories happened in her house. That was, when I asked about the house story, it happened in that house. And she's
How
always
long?
said, there were things in the house.
Right. How long ago was that incident or encounter?
Uh, that was in 2009, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. 2009 when that happened.
Right. Yeah. That, I've had a couple of, what was that, Dustin?
I said me and her son were house sitting for her while she was on vacation. So that's when it was.
Got
But you said you had a couple.
I have, yes. One here in the house I live in, which happened about a year ago. Well, probably about a year and a half ago, actually. And I would not tell my wife for probably 6 months. uh, but I was up late, maybe 12:30 or 1 o'clock. I walked into the kitchen to get a snack or something to drink, and I was kind of leaned back against the kitchen counter, and to my right side, out of my peripheral vision, I saw a white orb fly through from the counter or from the cabinets uh, towards the wall in the kitchen. And I stood there for a second, thought, did I just see that? And I said, yes,
Oh
I
yeah.
did see that. And so I hightailed it back to bed. I didn't stay in the kitchen too long,
So
but
so was it like light in color or was it illuminated? Could you tell?
it was almost like it was illuminated.
Mm,
And it was not a bug or anything like that, or the only light that was on at the time was an overhead uh, stove light that
mhm.
that you have on a fan and a light combo. So the house or the kitchen was not lit up, or there was no other lights on anywhere else. But yeah, I kind of scratched my head with that one. And
Well, that's kind of how it happened with my at my friend's mom's house. Was we were going to be there all weekend. It happened Friday after work. I was dropping my bags off upstairs, and it felt like somebody passed my shoulder and spoke into my ear, like whispered, but it wasn't in English. And it's, I think I was like, what the heck or something. He heard me downstairs and he said, what's going on? I said, nothing, because I didn't want to scare it. I didn't want that over us all weekend. I want us to have fun. So I just held it till we were safely out of there Monday and told him what happened. And then he
right.
had a follow up.
So he had an encounter or something happened to him as well.
Yeah, that's what I said these three stories, I have a secondary person involved. So I had no idea had happened. He'd been there all day since that morning before his mom left and her husband, and my little incident happened upstairs. Well, when I told him after we got out of the house what happened, he said, well, you're not going to believe me. He said, but that morning when I got to the house before they left, he said, I was sitting at the island in the kitchen talking to his stepdad. And he said, and I felt mama come up behind me and hug me around the shoulders, and like kind of put her weight on my back. And he said, hey, good morning, mama. How are you? And his stepdad kind of gave him a funny look and said, well, who are you talking to? Your mom's still asleep in the bed. And it happened the same day. And we didn't tell each other till I think like that Monday, like all that had happened in the house.
That's crazy, y'all. You guys had some activity, and we're not expecting that.
Oh, no, not at all.
Yeah, that.
But it wasn't in English. And I've developed a theory like in the last 2 months. The more I've kind of told this story a little bit and I'm a little older now and thought about it. There was a house there at one point that burned down because my dad called it the burn up house. Uh, but like that property, my uncle lives right through the woods from it. And there's a creek, like a spring that runs back there and all. And he finds arrowheads and like Indian art or Native American artifacts, excuse me. They call it there was a stump out there. I think they called the Indian stump back then because it had flint napped off all around it, but Native American stuff. And my recent theory is, what if it didn't speak English? So what if it was something tied back to then? the tribes were running through the woods there.
Yes, that's not the first time I've heard that, and I actually thought about that as well with my incident. I know my grandfather used to find arrowheads on this property, and there's a creek that runs through, and then we have found a couple of older. I'm not gonna say artifacts, but you know, some things that date back maybe the 20s or 30s possibly, but the arrowheads being here, that tells me that there was some type of native activity on this land.
Yeah, it was inhabited at some point. Yeah, by
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm not sure how that, and I've said this too as well before. I don't know how that, coincides with what I saw. But yes, there has been, native activity. And yes, I have heard it before. And you're not the only one as well that has said that. So it is a thought.
yeah, and it's another situation where had he not told me something happened to him, I would have just thought, man, I must have really been tired that day or something. But I mean, it was the actual feeling of somebody. If I was to walk right past your shoulder and just whisper something, kept going, around the banister there at the top of the stairs, and it was like, whoa, man, it just felt like somebody just walked right past me.
Right. Yeah, I'm sure that startled you once you figured out that, yeah, no doubt. And I'm sure it startled your friend too once he found out. I'd like to see his reaction when his stepdad said his mom was still upstairs asleep.
Yeah, he's not much into ghosts and things like. I think maybe it got oversaturated with him from his mom growing up, but I do know when he lived in that house, he wouldn't go to sleep without the closet light on, like till he was like grown. So yeah, I think he was a little scared too. He don't like to talk about it.
Right. And a lot of people don't like to talk about those things. Uh, but yeah, I had another encounter. We were out of town, and I'm going to post this probably sometime soon. I keep kind of putting it off because it's really, to me, it's more evil or eerie. We were eating at a restaurant, and I didn't pay much attention to the outside of the restaurant before we walked in. And I know that sounds crazy, but besides the name of it, but it was like an older house. And um, we were there late. It was on Eastern time. It's probably 9 or 9:30 Eastern time when we got to the restaurant, but it was a group of us, a family, all family. And they set us down right at the bottom of a stairwell. Well, the stairwell was dark and upstairs was dark. And I had asked the waitress, I said, if I remember correctly, hey, what's upstairs, and so on and so forth. And have you ever had anything happen up there, or is there a history to this building? And she was hesitant at first, and then she had mentioned she was upstairs doing something by herself, and the water came on in the bathroom in the sink. And I thought, oh wow. So she kind of opened up about that, and I said, well, let me ask you this. I said, can you care if we go upstairs and check out what's going on? And she was like, no, I don't care. So I downloaded an app on my phone. That's a thermal imaging app. And I was not familiar with it and did not know how well it would work. But we got up there and recorded about 3 minutes or so, Dustin, and there was some static. I heard static, and I could see the temperature change on the phone. The different colors, the red, the blue and green to red, and so on and so forth. And I heard the static again, but we did not hear anything while we were up there. So we left, went back downstairs, and to be honest with you, I didn't think I would ever, hear anything out of the video, but it took about 2 or 3 times for me to hear it, and it was clear as day. It was somebody or something saying, get out," and it
Yeah.
freaked me out.
I had
It was
something similar happen. Shoot, when was it? It was after I did the first movie, which is more of a mockumentary, and it was just kind of a, hey, let's see if I can do this kind of project. But I wanted to do like a real documentary kind of thing after. So I was trying to find Bigfoot witnesses, stuff like that, and paranormal. So I want to do my own investigations, which is something I didn't want to do alone. So I got a couple guys to go with me. Well, one night we went to a graveyard at a church and ran digital recordings and EMF meters, all the stuff you'd normally see. You know, none of us are experienced. We were just, it was the documentary I was trying to do was from a complete amateur, almost skeptic. Let's just go in. If nothing would have happened on video, it just would have been nothing. I didn't care. I was just going to have 10, 15 minutes of us trying to see if things would happen. Well, went to a couple places, and then at one point we went to the Drish House down in downtown Tuscaloosa and done a little bit of the same thing. And we weren't in there like you see on TV or whatever, where people are like, if anyone is here, speak to us now. We were basically, we were just walking around with our phones recording, digital recorder on, talking to each other like, man, you were talking, you know, about the house, or hey, look at this over here. Well, kind of like what you're saying, what I did was I would go home, put in both my earphones, turn it up as loud as I could, and just turn the recorder on, listen. And in the Drish house, there's a part where the guy, David, that was with me, opens his door. He says, what's in this room? And I watched it back on the video to match with the audio on the digital. And when he does that, this voice comes across the recording and says, shut the door. It's kind of like what you were saying. And at that point, I moved very soon after that into writing books and stuff. And at the same time, I feel like the feelings I got from that stuff, something I probably should leave alone.
Yeah, I agree with you. Did you guys you did not hear that while you were recording initially, correct?
No, and going back and watching the video, you know, it's not on there, but on the digital recorder, it's clear as day. Because what I did was I went back to watch the video to see if David like said something under his breath, and I just in the moment didn't hear him talking to himself or something, but he didn't. In the video, like he doesn't say a word. You know, that's skeptic, or you know, just trying to find confirmation to explain it. What caused that? You know, but
Right.
couldn't explain
Well,
that.
that's yeah, that's what I mean. That's just like the mystery of everything. The reason I guess you like certain subjects or cryptids or mystery or whatever is that's the reason you want to know, or you're trying to find out what's going on, and you want to kind of validate what you experienced, as
Yeah,
well.
because I mean, I say like I'd really love for there to be a Bigfoot in the woods. You know, I've never seen one, but you know, it's kind of like, what do I really, you know, want some gigantic thing scaring the crap out of people to be in the woods?
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Yeah.
It's cool though.
Yeah. There's a gentleman that I had on just previous episode that we were talking about that, and how, the mystery or the questions of certain things make you want more of it, or try to find out. And, but he said himself, kind of like, sort of like what you did, if they catch Bigfoot or catch a Bigfoot and put it in a, put it in a cage or whatever, that would be the end of it, or the end of the mystery. And do you want that?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, would it be fun anymore after that?
Right. Right. Well, Dustin, tell everybody where they can find your book and find your,
All the books.
oh,
Yeah, they're all on Amazon.com. And I mean, and if you ever see me anywhere, sometime I'm gonna try to go to more stuff. I want to write a few more things, so I kind of have like a body of work to take with me. But if you see me in person, I usually carry some with me. I mean, I know it's not going to be very likely to people listening to a podcast, but everything's for sure on Amazon.
Okay, well, I will put a link to your most recent book or your books um, down in the description, so the listeners can check out your work and what you're doing.
Okay, yeah, I think I'm gonna go back on the first one, Dirt Road Tales of Horror. There's a lot of things. I guess I like my stories. I like how they got told, but from a book writing, editing standpoint, there's some things I need to correct. I probably have to I don't like it. You know, when I look at I'm my biggest critic. When I look at it, there's some things I want to, since I've got a little more experience with the other two books, there's some things about, I was so excited to be writing a book, I think I overlooked them. But I feel a lot more confident with this new one and the structure being better written. Just, for transparency there, that the stories in the first book, I like them. I think they're pretty good. It could have been written better.
Yeah, we are. I guess we are all our own worst critic. You know.
Yeah, and the more you do things, I guess the better you get at them. Hopefully.
Yes. I'll pick things apart about some things I've done, and my wife will go, "No, it's just fine," and I'll go,
Yeah.
"I don't know. I like it a certain way." So I totally get what you're saying.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I don't go
There,
back and read any. Usually, when I'm done with the project, I don't even go back and look at it because I can't. Like I don't know. I can't do it.
I've done that before as well. I've once I've edited, and done something. I don't want to listen to myself, or whatever. So,
Yeah.
but Dustin, usually at the end of each episode, we do a rapid fire Q&A where I will ask 3 questions, and it's just casual. It's the first thing that comes to your mind. So, are you ready?
Okay. Yeah.
All right. Favorite movie?
Oh man, favorite movie. Mm, Man, that's really tough. But the first thing that came to mind was Jeremiah Johnson or The Patriot. They kind of
Okay,
showed up together.
gotcha. And you were
Boggy
in the
Creek, Legend
military.
of Boggy Creek.
Oh, Legend of Boggy Creek. That's all.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I could go watch it right now. Seen it a million times.
that's a classic, no doubt. And you were in the military, correct?
Yes, Navy.
Okay, yeah, that's awesome. I appreciate your service. How long were you
I
in?
think. Well, see, I work where I work now, so I was a reservist. So I was a reservist between '08 to 16 and one deployment overseas on a port security type mission.
Gotcha.
On about 7, 8 months, something like that.
Okay. All right. Number 2, favorite Bigfoot or paranormal TV show, past or present?
Past or present. Paranormal. Oh, These Woods Are Haunted.
Uh, yes,
I think they
that's
stopped
a
at
good one.
3 seasons, and I wish they'd make some more so bad. Like I'll watch reruns of it.
I'm glad you said that. I've got a gentleman that was on the first season uh, that's supposed to be coming on sometime this month, actually. His name is Mike Miller, and him and another guy were going out doing a Bigfoot investigation, and their son was with them, or one of their sons was with them during the investigation. And I cannot remember which episode it was. It was like episode maybe 3 or 4, but I'll let you know.
With the kid, did the kid go to sleep in the car?
That's
I
it.
think. Yeah. I've seen that one.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites on that TV series.
Yeah, those are good.
Yeah, yeah. But he'll be on hopefully sometime this month, and when he's on, I'll shoot you a link or shoot you a text.
Yeah, yeah.
All right,
I've been tuning into your show some.
I appreciate that.
That I heard the one with the guy whose dad was a truck driver, and what was the other guy, Lon Strickler episode? And
Oh yeah,
I think he had a lady that was the author. That I like them.
I appreciate that. Thank you for saying that, Dustin. Um, Last one, number 3, favorite college football team.
Oh, that way you were baiting me on that one, weren't you? Of course, Roll Tide, man.
Oh my
Alabama.
goodness, I was afraid you was gonna say that. I'm gonna have to say War Eagle back to you, Dustin.
Oh, no,
Uh,
I guess
yeah,
everybody's season this season, isn't it?
yeah. I don't know. It's you know how it is in this state, but college football rules when it comes to the fall.
Oh yeah. Good times. Been looking forward to it.
Yeah, we enjoy Saturdays here. Regardless if Auburn wins or not, we still enjoy watching college football on TV or going to a game here and there.
Yeah, Alabama season started off a little rough with that Florida State game, but heck, they beat Vanderbilt to Georgia, so
There, I was talking to
Vanderbilt.
somebody. I was talking to somebody yesterday about that. Alabama, excuse me, Alabama is. It seems like they're clicking on all cylinders right now, or about to. They're headed in the right direction, no doubt.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, they're playing really well. So, well, Dustin, I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed this talking to you and listening to your stories, and we'll have to do this again in the future,
Oh yeah, anytime.
no doubt. Well, good deal. Like I said, I appreciate you taking your time out of your schedule and coming on. And well, the listeners, if you've had an encounter, something strange or unexplained, just shoot us an email at the crypticrewpodcast@gmail.com or click on our link tree in the description and share your encounter. Thank you for listening, and God bless.